In this video, I'm going to show you how to create a simple form, share it with parents, and then send an email receipt to that parent. So right now I'm in Microsoft Forms, and to create my new survey, I click on the drop-down next to New Quiz and select New Form. So I'll quickly go ahead and create a few fields. To send an email receipt, we'll need to ask that parent for their email address. So I'll create a text field and ask for email address. Note that we can't validate what is entered into this field, so if they enter something invalid, unfortunately the email will never reach their mailbox. So this is all that I want for this particular survey. Now, to share that with parents, I need to go to the three dots up the top right, click on More Form Settings and Settings. And now where it has who can fill in this form, I need to select Anyone Can Respond. That means that no LearnLink email and password is required to access this form. So now I click on to share and I'll shorten the URL and copy. So if I go into an incognito window and paste that link, my form opens without prompting me to sign in. Now, to get the email receipt working, I need to use something known as Power Automate. So if I go back into my form and I click on the 9 dots next to where it says Forms, or you might go straight from office.com, and we're looking for Power Automate. If you don't see Power Automate in your list, you may have to click on All Apps. If you still don't see it, you may have to log an edit job because not every user has access to Power Automate. So we're going to click on that. Power Automate is a workflow application. So what we're looking to do is have our form come in and then send an email to the email address on the form. So from here, we click on Create. And as tempting as it is to use a template, we're going to click on Automated Cloud Flow. And this will be our name. So we can call this Form Receipt Email or similar. I would generally go with the same name as the form that I've created, but for an example purpose, I'm going to call it Form Receipt Email. And then we can choose our trigger. So the trigger in this example is a new form being submitted. So I'll click on that and then create. The first step that I need to complete is my trigger. So when a new form response is submitted, I then need to do something. So it's asking for form ID. I can use the drop down and select one of my forms here. I personally prefer to get the form ID. So the way that I do that is I use the drop down, I go all the way down to the bottom and then go to enter custom value. Now, if I go back to my form, and in the website address, we're looking for the section that starts with form ID equals. So we're just going to copy everything right to the end and right click and go to copy. Now we go back into that Power Automate tab and we can paste that in there. And just make sure that you don't have form ID equals. So it's just the characters to the right of equals. All right, now we're going to go plus new step. And the step that we want now is to get our form responses. So it's form responses, we can start to type and get form responses. And essentially you're copying the same form ID from above. So we'll go drop down, into custom value, paste, get rid of form ID equals. And then underneath where we've got form response ID, if we put our cursor in there, this dynamic content pop-up should appear. If it doesn't, please click on Add Dynamic Content, and we're looking for Response ID. So we'll click on that. And now our next step is to send an email. So we'll go to plus new step, And now we're looking for email. And the one that I always use is send an email v2. So we'll click on that. And when we put our cursor into the to field and go to add dynamic content, you'll know that this flow or Power Automate is working when you can see a list of your responses there. So if I click on show more, there's name, how do you rate us, email address. So this responder's email is something that comes pre-built in. We are looking for the one that says email address. So we'll go ahead and we'll have our cursor in there, click on email address. So this email will be sent to this email address. Subject. And then under the body, this is where we can put in our data. So it could be something like, this is a receipt for your form, details as follows. The name, how do you rate us, email address. And now we can just enter in name, how do you rate us, and email address. So this will send an email with the text in there, details as follows, name, and it's got the responses in there. Now, if we click on Show Advanced Options, we can have a send as email. So at the moment, this is always going to send this email from my mail address. You will need to have access to send as. So for some schools, we'd recommend that you use a generic account for this. If you're a corporate user, you may have to log and edit job requesting for a send as address. Down below, we've got the importance. We'll change that to normal. And that's now good to go. I do suggest having a CC in there as well if there's any concerns that the email address is not entered incorrectly. But let's go ahead and test this now. So we'll save that. Go back into that form and preview and submit. Now if I go back into Power Automate and click on the back button, I can see that there has been some activity. So 7 seconds ago, this was run. So we'll click onto that. We can see that we've got green ticks everywhere, which is good. And if I click on to the send an email section, it'll actually show me who it was sent to. So that's really good there. Now going to my personal email, I can see that email that was sent. So this is a receipt for your form and it's got those details in there too. So that's good. But let's test to see what happens if an incorrect email address is put in. We can see that that last one has failed. And if we have a look here, we can see the type is not valid. So an invalid email address was entered there. To try and rectify this, we can add in another step that'll run if this one fails. So if we go back and edit, you may want to send another email. So we'll go new step, send an email. And this time, if we click on the 3 dots to the right of send an email, we can select the configure run after. So we'll click on that. We can select when this runs. So at the moment, it'll only run if it's successful. But perhaps what we want to do is select has failed. So we'll go done. And this time we'll send an email to ourselves or our generic mailbox with something like incorrect email address. And then in the body, we can say incorrect email address entered for the following form response. Name, and then select those options there again. Okay, so let's save that. Now we'll test again. and submit. Go back into our flow and click on the back button. So that has succeeded. So we'll have a look at what happened. We can see that that failed, but that one has sent. So if I go into my emails, I have an email saying incorrect email address entered for the following form response, and there are those details there.